Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you get yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week is a very special week. We are going to be doing an interview this week, and it is with none other than Behaving Beardly. We had a fantastic time. We recorded way longer than I was anticipating, so it's a longer episode, and there were tangents, there were discussions, there was laughs, there was discoveries. It was beautiful. I cannot tell you, I cannot wait for you all to get into this. So let me get the patrons taking care of this episode, and then we'll get right into that interview. But before I get into that interview, I have to thank the patrons, because they are the ones that recommended that I get in touch with Beardy, that I get in touch with some of the ones that I'm hoping to get in future interviews coming up, actually. So thanks to them for the suggestions and reaching out on my behalf as well. So thank you to People's Republic, El Cute, Balls, Bam Bam Bagel, Captain Hasco, Chateau Neuf, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, Trickster, Jabaro 5, Jorby Jorbs, Carl Embo, Kazuya the Aficionado, Nightstar, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Michael V, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Norwegian, Raja the Brave, Registella, Replicated Flame, Rust Belt Kid, Skamelt 666, Captain Dasm, Captain Chunky, Tien Professor, Real Big Tuna, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Captain J Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, the Lord Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Ghost Boy 20, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Ruski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Windsor Chris, and Zam. Wow, thank you all so much for your support. It really has meant the world to me. I hope you are all enjoying the changes that I've made to the show. If you do, feel free to let me know. If you don't, feel free to let me know. I like getting the feedback just to kind of know what's going on. Hopefully you are all enjoying the shortened no ad version for regardless of whether or not you're a patron or not. And speaking of, if you guys have a chance, definitely feel free to like, subscribe, to share the podcast. I've been running into people who've recognized the Reaper's Mark tattoo, so there's definitely Sea of Thieves fans out there. So you never know, they might be interested in following along with the rest of you for the podcast. Anyway, thanks. Let's get into this. Talking heads is weird to me. I know it's popular and all, but like Talking Heads is such a weird thing to, and I do other shows where it's like it's Talking Heads, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Something about people's voices. I think they cue in a little bit better when they actually when they have to listen to what you're saying, as opposed to just like focusing on the facial expressions.
Well, I've taken all my filters off for you, so I'll try not to touch anything on the desk. I'll try not to tap anything. It's
you. It's if you want to do, look, hey, I'm here to talk to you in your natural state. I found a wild Beardly in the wild. I just wanted to kind of catch it, sit down, talk with it, figure out what's going on. So first off, thanks for letting me, thanks for doing the interview. I appreciate that. But I'm just excited because I don't know. I feel like we talked at SOT Fest, and it's so hard to keep up with so many different people across.
We did talk at Sea of Thieves Fest. I mean, I was incredibly hungover. I was frolicking while holding another bearded man's hand, and I was sweating. So it was an interesting exchange anyway. But yeah.
God, SOT in this year I think is going to be even better. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm already psyched.
Are you coming to the EU one?
I am. Yeah.
Oh, yay! I assumed you was just gonna go to the US one because it's a similar time.
So here's the funny thing is I was going to buy a Nintendo Switch limited edition Zelda because I love Zelda, and I wanted first off, I have the first year revision. I don't have my OG one anymore, but I was like, it's like $330 for this OLED, or I could double that and go to the NA SOT Fest. And I was like, forget it. I'll just go to both. So I figured I'll go to both, and then that way I've got my EU fam covered, because I'm planning on going out to the EU, because I went last year with Davram, and I had to leave my wife here, and I was really bummed about that. And I was like, oh God, there's so many things I want to take my wife to. So I wanted to like go and do the whole London experience with her. Plus I actually want her to go meet like all of my EU friends as well too. So I figured I did EU SOT Fest on my own. Got the lay of the land, figured out what I have to do. I'm comfortable now. I can traverse the country just fine.
Oh, I can make sure you feel uncomfortable.
Well, I might have to. I'll hit you up on that if I need it. If I'm feeling like unsure, I'll be like, I'm just too confident. I've got these trains down. Beardly, how can I screw this up? So, but I figured I would bring her along this year to be able to experience London, because I missed her so much last year, and I was like, I need to do this with her. So we're going to spend a few extra days in London, before and after, kind of doing stuff. But I wanted to come this year because I figured bigger venue, more experience. Yeah. It'll be really cool to actually go do it all over again. Plus, I just really I want to see my EU friends again, because it'll have been like almost a full year since then. So, but yeah, looking forward to it.
It speaks volumes though, because I know after last year, I know I'm bringing my wife this year. Nice. I know Beardy bringing his wife. I mean, my wife doesn't even understand what Sea of Thieves or Twitch is, really.
Right.
So that's going to be me throwing her into the deep end, and she's just going to think it's all very weird and very surreal. But I think it speaks volumes for that kind of event as a whole, just like, being confident enough that we can bring as wives, because I know Beardy's wife's the same. She couldn't care less about Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. My wife, she 100% supports me in what I do. She's very proud of the work that I put in every week. She's always telling me I've done such a great job on my podcast, and I'm like, really? You don't listen to it. But she knows that it's a big deal for me, and she supports me. But it's like I feel comfortable enough with the people that are running it, with the team that's focused on it, with the community in general, that I'm like, you know what? It's a safe place. It's a good safe place. You can bring family. I'm stoked to do it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that with the North American one doing their first year this year, I'm hoping next year I'll be able to take her with me to the NA one for the second year, and then she can meet all of my weird gaming friends in SOT for the second year one. So that's kind of like the tentative plan.
That'd be cool. I'm really hoping that kind of like next year they're not so close together, because I'd have loved to have gone to the US one. Oh. I was like, it's so close. Like
it really is.
I know.
Yeah, and it's expensive too right now, man. Like flights. I think the flight for us is going to be around like $3,000 round trip just for the flights. So that's what supporting is supporters are helping out with, man, right there. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity, because not everyone's getting the opportunity, and I'm thankful that it's going to be tight. But next year we'll do like Hawaii or something, I'm sure, or we'll go to like Florida and do like Disneyland or Disney World and stuff like that. But this year it was like, I have to go back to SOT Fest. I have to go.
No, definitely.
So I was wondering, because we're steeped in SOT Fest and SOT in general and Sea of Thieves in general, but I know where I've come from with gaming, and I've been wondering, I'm always curious, like, how did people get into gaming? So I was wondering, like, how did you get into gaming when did it start for you? Were you an adult? Were you a kid? Like, what is the David Copperfield story and after that, I'm curious how you decided on behaving Beardly as well too, but I want to get into that a little bit later. Okay. Starting off as a little behaving Beardly, how did you get into gaming?
So I was a horrific child. Believe it or not, I was loud. I constantly wanted attention. I things have changed mostly, but no, I used to, when I was like very young. My dad worked full time. My mum was a stay-at-home mother. She was a young mother. I was a bit of a nightmare child, so she would often take me around to my grandparents for a bit of respite. My granddad, her father, was well, he had a Super Nintendo basically. And he would sit me on his lap.
Grandpa.
Aye. Dude, I remember you used to, even when I, in my later years, when I was a teenager and stuff, he used to sit there and play on his N64. It was an absolute lord.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, so he used to have a Super Nintendo, and he would, like, sit me on the lap, and he would give me, like, a controller that wasn't plugged in, and would play, like, Nigel Mansell's F1 Racing, and stuff like that. And then he had an old Atari in the attic, so just so I had something to take home. Eventually, I had like a little Atari. I'd play like Pong on there and stuff like that. And then eventually, he bought me my own Super Nintendo because he was sick of me playing on his. And then yeah, I was a Nintendo fanboy from there on out.
What a lord! Oh my god, that's awesome. That's what I've aspired to be as the uncle-in-law. Like. Every time I've gone to visit my wife's sister's families, anytime we've gone there, I've always had my Switch on me, and it's always been one of those like, all right, let's sit down. Let me introduce you to Breath of the Wild or we're gonna sit down and we're gonna do a few rounds of Mario Kart because I just and like for their birthdays, I'm like, all right, what are you playing right now? Ark, cool. We'll see about getting you some stuff in Ark, or if you need some Fortnite currency. Like I want to be that uncle, because that's all I have right now.
I've got a 6-year-old, a little boy, who has grown up to be obsessed with everything Nintendo and Minecraft. But one of my kind of like. I mean, it's a core memory for me, and I hope it's something that he remembers. But it was Christmas this year, and then on Boxing Day, the wife went out to go see some friends and family, and then me and him spent the whole day just playing the original Donkey Kong Country from start through to finish. And dude, I was just beaming. It took us like 8 hours, but I was like beaming, like this massive grin on my face the whole time. It was stunning. So I hope he remembers those kind of things. I know I always will.
Yeah. Oh God. See, this is the side of parenthood that I need to be, that I wish I had been fed at a younger age. Cause, my wife and I, we like when we got together, we kind of knew, like we talked before we had really gotten like committed. And then like, these are our politics. These are our religion bases. This is like our stance on pets. This is our stance on kids. So like we worked all of that out. So we've got cats. And that's our family, and it's always the stories of like one of my patrons, Sam Wow. He has his daughter is like super into Pokemon, and I'm just like hearing the stories like that, you know, like sitting down with your kid and just playing old games with them and just having them like love it. It's like, yes, I 100% support, and I love hearing these stories about these core memories, because I remember that for me, like growing up and having those moments and stuff, and it's like, oh, that was so important to it's why I love having these stories about like, how did you get into gaming? Because someone's always got that kind of a story like somewhere.
You should have seen the new Super Mario movie, because he's obsessed with anything Super Mario on Nintendo. And I spent so much of that film watching his face.
Oh,
like just sat next to him in the cinema and just watching like the look of pure, like his jaw was on the floor the whole time. You know, he barely touched his chocolate magic stars and popcorn, which is incredible. And it just watching him just being complete like awe of this like piece of media was just amazing to watch.
Man. Yeah. See, I love that. That's fantastic. Because that was me back when the original Super Mario Brothers movie came out in theaters. It was like, I was just like, what do you mean? There's like Super Mario, it's like the game is a movie. Like we're going to go, and then, you know, we went and saw it, and then my parents were like, that is a weird movie. And I'm like,
well, I must be a little bit older than you, because I remember that film coming out and watching it and being, what have they done to Super Mario? Was literally my reaction when I went to go see that film.
Man.
Like, that's not what they do to Bowser. Like
I didn't like, I knew like, so I don't know if like we're going to do age thing now. So I was born in 82.
I was 85.
85.
That's confusing.
So I got you beat.
That is confusing.
That just means that just means that I am willing to accept the weirdness, because The Wizard is still a fantastic film for me. I still 100% get behind the fact that that is a giant advertisement for Super Mario Brothers 3, but I'm totally fine with it. But yeah, I had no problem with that movie, man. I was there for it. I was like, Bowser's cool. They got the jump boots. There's a Yoshi. I'm here for this. It's weird and wild, and it's the first. It was like it was the best thing to the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So it was like we didn't have much. Like kids nowadays.
I guess the one time I did that will have been, so my dad was in the Royal Navy, was a Navy man, and he always called himself Popeye. And so we used to always sit and watch a Popeye cartoons together. Yeah. And when the Popeye movie came out, that blew my mind. And to this day, I still think that is one of the best pieces of cinema I've ever watched, from like the rose tinted glasses. But so many of my friends think I'm mad.
Honestly, I don't like, my dad loved the Popeye movie and I loved it too. I don't know. I think it was actually pretty good.
It's sad because apparently Robin Williams kind of disowned the film. Like he really didn't. I know, but I thought it was amazing. Man,
he killed it in that movie too.
It was amazing.
I really like that movie. That's so strange. All right, so I know where you're coming in from, and I feel like I'm in the same boat. So like you mentioned, your father being in the Royal Navy, being a sailor, Popeye. It's a great segue. So is that? Do you think that is like that little bit that got you into like sailing and like Sea of Thieves? Like, is there? Have you made any of those like connections as far as like why you like sailing?
Not through that route, believe it or not. Really? So, I mean, my dad was always obsessed with like the ocean, and even being brought up, he used to try and like bring me and my brothers and sister up with that kind of regimented kind of, you get up in the morning, you make your bed, you fold your clothes, and it never worked. It never, ever, ever worked. But so when he was in the Navy and he kind of went all over the world, he would make a bit of, spending money, singing in like bars, doing like Frank Sinatra impersonations, Dean Martin, Bobby Darin and stuff. So,
was he good?
And so it was always them kind of stories that appealed to me more. Like there's a photo somewhere of him shaking Rocky Marciano's hand, and like when he used to always I used to introduce my friends to him, and he'd shake their hand and go, "You just shook the hand that shook the hand that shook the world," and that was always like one of his stupid little things that he used to always do. But he was obsessed with movies and media, so one of the things that kind of limited that was we would always go to the cinemas together, like just me and him, without my younger brothers and sisters or without my mum. Probably because I was the oldest and he knew I'd sit there and be quiet. And I've just got so many memories of watching these like classic films with him. And he introduced me to like Indiana Jones and the Goonies and stuff like that. So, and I think it's a love of the films that came out during that era and that kind of, whimsical adventure and storytelling. And that's what the appeal of Sea of Thieves was to me, was it just made that instant connection to my youth and my childhood, if that makes sense.
That does, especially given how much reverence Mike Chapman has for those types of movies. Like knowing him and knowing like what he's done with Sea of Thieves, it's like I can see there's a connection there. There's like a desire to have that same feeling from both sides of it. So that actually really makes sense. It's interesting that you're right. It does come a bit from your father, but not in the way that I expected it to actually be from. Because so many, I think, folks that I've talked to in the past, it's always been like, oh, well, there's always been sailing in my family. Always been, like for me, there's never been sailing in my family. My family, they're all from Texas and Arizona. Like we don't know what water is. We've heard of it and we've seen it from time to time on the TV, but everything else is all kind of out there for us. So it's always been
4,000 hours staring at water animations in Sea of Thieves. What is this?
It's so cool. Why didn't anybody tell me about this? Yeah. So it's always been pirate movies, man, for me. Like, and it really kicked off. It really kicked off after the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, just because it was like they made them like I'd always been into Muppet Treasure Island or like Hook. I think Hook is why I got wireframe glasses when I was a kid, because it was like I cherished Robin Williams so much, and I was like, well, I want to be Peter Pan and I want to have like the little wireframe glasses that he has. So I went from like big honking brown framed glasses as a kid that obviously I had no idea was probably a point of people picking on me at the time, but yeah, it's like always been cinema for me for Sea of Thieves.
Hook is huge for me. Like,
oh right, really? Okay.
Yeah. That film is it's one of those films that I used to like just watch. There's a few like kind of odd films. I mean, Indiana Jones films I've watched more times than I could ever count.
Yeah.
But Hook was a huge one. It was one of those on VHS that me and my brother would always put on and watch.
Oh man.
And my God, that film hit so much harder now. I hadn't watched it in years.
Yeah.
And my little boy had been born, and it was only it was a newborn, and I'd started paternity leave. My wife had gone back to work, and Hook were on TV. I'm like, oh yeah, let's watch this. And when it gets to the point where he has to think of his happy thought, and he goes back to the moment when his son is born.
Oh man!
I don't cry. I don't audibly cry. I was wailing. I was sat there with a newborn. I'm like,
oh man!
It's so much different now.
That's so interesting, man. Yeah. See, I've never had that experience. So it's always just still been the feeling of like, you know, what are the things that drive you to be happy? What keeps you young? What keeps you entertained? Because that's, in my mind, I am still one of those lost boys. I have never actually I mean, you can see it on the video. I have not grown up. This is just my same childhood room with more funding.
I mean, if you want to get deep with it, you got to bear in mind we're of an age where we grew up and, you know, internet didn't exist.
Yeah.
We didn't know what went on down past the end of our street. We had movies like that. That was our escape, and we would. And I remember I'd always be in the back garden with my little brothers, and we'd make like little obstacle courses and pretend it was like traps from Indiana Jones, and we'd run around the garden like dun 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 dun. And so it's, you know, so it's that kind of, you know, and I think that's again what links it to Sea of Thieves, is that kind of direction of story tale, childlike adventure, and kind of mischief, if that makes sense.
I love the whimsy. The whimsy is what drives me in Sea of Thieves. It doesn't matter what I do in that game. I could literally be sitting around just sailing, trying to avoid rocks. It doesn't have to have a point or purpose. There's just something about that world that is so enthralling for me, because it hits on a level. It's like, this is the most beautiful thing I've gotten to spend my day in, when I'm sitting here and I've got 3 monitors and a bunch of plastic behind me. My great escape is spending time in that world, or worlds like it, on a regular basis. And it's so interesting to me, the people that don't have that, and where do they find that in it? And I find that they find it in living vicariously through other people who are actually in that world. So it's a weird subplant for them. In my mind, it was like, well, we have games like this. Like, why wouldn't you want to experience the story in a game that you actually have like a say in the matter, as opposed to just passively watching other people go through that experience? It's interesting to me, but I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but no,
I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, I know, because again, a bit of a weird kind of tidbit of myself is that I was a theatre kid, and I was always into performing arts and English literature and stuff.
Yep. So
like, and one of those things for me is going to theatre, and there's nothing like it. Like the kind of like the face-to-face storytelling, and you get so immersed and lost into what's going on, because it's real people right there and it's tangible. So I do understand, as you know, everyone's kind of got that kind of, you know, not necessarily what switches the brain off, but maybe engages the brain, or, you know, takes them to another place. Yeah. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, I could definitely see that. Because it is fun to, I guess maybe what I'm doing is I'm trying to say, like, in my head, the story that I would normally expect from like a TV show or like a movie, I'm trying to have that imaginative drive in Sea of Thieves, because when I play Sea of Thieves, I feel like I am that character. And, And it's weird, because not too many games will I actually feel that. Like, most games, I'm usually like, okay, there's a character, and that's the story that they're telling, and I'm just kind of working my way through that.
Oh, dude, I'm the worst gamer on the planet. Like. I swear to God, like, the only games I really played before Sea of Thieves for a longest time was the Tomb Raider series and Gears of War.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
And I've always enjoyed like very heavily linear story-driven games.
Yeah.
Like, I loved like Assassin's Creed, Ezio Collection. I loved Black Flag. I mean, I wouldn't normally like, veer off into side quests, but I did on Black Flag because that game was just incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, most games that I've played have always been very linear and story driven. That's always been. Sea of Thieves was my first proper open world experience.
Really?
Never played an MMO.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. That's interesting because I would agree with you 100% with my experience with games. Like, don't really have a whole lot of experience with open world until really Sea of Thieves. And then ever since then, I've been going back to like the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 era and trying to like gather all this information that I've missed out on and stuff. So I've gone back to like games like Forbidden or Horizon Zero Dawn and trying to think of what the other one was, Ghost of Tsushima. But I mean, I'm even going back to like the Uncharted games because I'd never played through those either because those are a lot more linear. And just trying to like fill up all this information that I've missed out on because from 2004 till about 2010, it was nothing but World of Warcraft for me. It was just like there was no other game outside. First off, I was poor and living, you know, paycheck to paycheck, and WoW was like a cheap game for me. It was like I had a PC that ran it, and I only needed $15 a month, and that was it. And I was sated, so it saved me a lot on that. And now that I'm in a better job and I actually make a lot of money, given what I have to do, I'm very happy that I can actually go back and actually play a lot of the games that I've missed out on, which is just it's a fascinating experience. But for some reason, like, so okay, so I'm kind of curious in that case because you've talked about like what you used to play. What was it about Sea of Thieves that caught your attention? Like, when did that moment happen?
Okay, we're going back now. So I used to be really into gaming when I was younger, like when I still lived at my parents' house. So up until the age of like 17, 18, you know, I got the first ever Voodoo graphics card when it came out. I had like the gaming PC. I used to like Quake Free Arena and stuff like that. And we'd play like all sorts of games and whatever. Sorry. But when I moved out, I started like, you know, working and things. I used to always have an Xbox, but like I say, the only games that I really played were maybe Gears of War, any Tomb Raider game that came out, because I always loved Tomb Raider, and maybe other bits and I always loved Forza. I love race sim games.
Really?
Yeah. I've always loved race sim games. I used to have like the steering wheel, the pedals and stuff. And that's why when I started using pedals for streaming, and everyone started going like, what do you mean you use pedals? That's big brain. I'm like, dude, I've been using pedals like on PCs all my life. Like I used to use them for like reloading like shooters and stuff, like reload and duck. I always had it on the pedals.
That's brilliant.
But yeah, and then it wasn't long. So up until like 2000, and then I guess at 2016, 16, 17, I had a really intense job. You know, I was with my girlfriend, who is now my wife at the time, and I was, you know, really, you know, she was amazing, and I wanted to like focus all my time on her and my job and my career and stuff. And I just kind of given up on gaming altogether. And then one day I got sent home from work really early. I can't remember why. But I just remember jumping on the bus, coming home from work, looking at my phone and going, oh, E3's on tonight. I'll watch that. And it was literally probably the first E3 I'd watched in 2 years. And I used to watch E3 like religiously.
Yeah.
Opened it up, saw Sea of Thieves, and I kid you not, I got goosebumps. My jaw was on the floor. I was literally phoning up my sister saying, are you watching E3? Have you seen this Sea of Thieves game? She thought I was an idiot and told me to get a life. But I don't know, it just spoke to me. It was weird. I can't even explain it because people think that I'm exaggerating. People think I'm making this up.
Yeah.
But what people kind of don't realize is before then, I didn't know what Twitch was. I'd never heard of Twitch. I'd never heard of Mixer.
Yeah.
You know, I only went on YouTube to learn how to plumb a sink. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, I didn't really play any video games, and it was Sea of Thieves that just kind of flicked a switch inside and just were like, no, I need to be about this.
Man, can I share with you an anecdote of my life? that
Go for it.
So if anyone's listening to this podcast, I'm apologizing in advance because you've heard me tell this damn story so many times. I was sitting in a coffee shop and it was a Dunkin' Donuts. I was eating. I was like, I got a donut, and I was doing pest control at the time, and it was before one of my appointments where I had to go like treat for ants or something stupid like that. And I'm sitting in this coffee shop drinking a cup of coffee, bored out of my mind, just waiting for the time to click over, because it was like, I got nothing better to do. There's nothing else I can do right now, so I'm just waiting. And I remember pulling out my phone, and at the time I just barely gotten into Twitch, because I was like, it had been about a year that I had gotten back into gaming, and I was like, oh, I'm all about the Switch. I'm all about Nintendo. I've been loving what the Switch is going to do. I'm going to pop on Twitch and see, just see what's going on. And the front page of Twitch had some dude playing a game, and I was like, oh, that game's pretty. What is that? So I dive into it, and I see that they're playing the beta for Sea of Thieves, and I was like, what is this game? This is nuts. Look at this. They're on a ship, but they're actually like moving the sails, and they're shooting cannons, and they're getting on. And I was enthralled, dude. I was just watching this stream for what felt like forever, to the point where I was like, oh my God, I have to go do this appointment. This is insane. I need to. And I spent the whole rest of the day like researching, like in between jobs, like trying to figure out like, what is this game? I was like hitting up my friends. I'm like, dude, have you seen this? Do you know about this? And they're like, oh yeah, I know about this. I've like been on E3 for a couple of years and stuff. And I'm like, I'm pre-ordering this game. I got to get access. And I went home that night, and I think I played like 5 hours straight of the beta, because I was just like, oh, it's so pretty. It's so cool. This is like exactly like the pirate fantasy that I want. And I was, oh man. So I believe it when I hear that you're just like, it just popped. It clicked. Well,
the weird thing, and I think only Rare can do this, was I remember watching that like the gameplay reveal trailer and stuff. And then the one thing that made my jaw absolutely, I just lost it, was when someone climbed into a cannon and got fired out. I don't know why, that just spoke to me, and I was like, yes, that's amazing. Or throwing vomit onto someone. It's like,
yeah,
of all the things that could have been put in that game, of all the things that could have maybe should have been addressed at launch but weren't, no, they put focus on making sure you could fire a player of a cannon and vomit on each other. And that's the magic of Sea of Thieves, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I agree. There's silly stuff that you're just like, and I think what was really impressive is something I'm still constantly impressed by, is the shanties, like being able to play multiple instruments, anyone, anywhere, and they all come together and they start playing and it just syncs up. And I'm just like, dude, like, what other game does that? Like maybe Final Fantasy, what's the MMO? 14? I think it's 14. I'll be corrected. Like that's like one of the other things that I can see like them syncing it up, but it's never like, it doesn't feel as natural as it does in Sea of Thieves. So it's like, yeah, I 100% get that. But I'm curious, because one of my patrons asked me, they wanted to know, like, if it wasn't for streaming, because first off, I got to figure out like why you did the streaming, but where do you see yourself if you didn't do streaming?
I've always had, when I was younger, I always wanted to be in some kind of performance. It didn't obviously go that way, because I decided that university would just be a massive waste of money for me, and I'd end up partying too much. So I didn't go to university. I know myself, and I'm like, that's going to be a train wreck. So I started working in nightclubs. I got into like flare tending. I used to go around the country coaching people how to be a cocktail tender, basically, and how to bar flare and how to be a mixologist. Then through that, I got into DJing, started touring around DJing and things like that. But again, when it came to meeting my wife, and then we talking about having a child, I decided that I had to leave all that, because it was just I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be in bed for most of the day and hungover most of the time. But she was a teacher at the time. And on an evening, she used to do like performance in nightclubs. So she would do stilt walking, fire breathing, podium dancing, and stuff like that. So that's how we got reacquainted, because we actually went to the same primary school together, but went separate ways, which is another whole weird story. But anyway, so I started a career in career coaching because I've been looking after the marketing for like the UK's, Europe's biggest restaurant group and the UK's biggest nightclub group. And I've been looking after like their social media accounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I went into career coaching, but it was training senior level executives on how to manage themselves online and how to network through social media. I know, but that was a job that got put in front of me, and I was like, well, this is a career. This is something that's 9 till 5. It pays a set wage, and I can do this. And my God, I was there for 2 years, and I dread to think what kind of mental state I'd have been in if I hadn't discovered Twitch and streaming or content creation, because I'd have probably still been there. I'll be completely honest.
Well, it sounds like you've got like most of your careers over like the span of years at this point have all kind of like been picking up little bits and things here to like push you up on a pedestal to basically like know exactly how to manage yourself when it comes to streaming. Would you agree that like DJing and knowing how to work a room, all that stuff kind of feeds into it?
That's what I thought.
Okay.
So when I first came into, when I did first like discover Twitch and everything, and I remember being in all these little communities and stuff, and there's all these people like giving tips to each other and trying to get like for likes and all that. And I was sat there in this, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna smash this with all the experience I've got. Give me a break. This is gonna be easy.
Yeah.
Nah. It was a rude awakening. I had my ego and my confidence absolutely shattered.
Yeah.
I think I was streaming to like 3 viewers for like a year at first. And it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things where I think I needed that kind of punch to the ego to make me realize that it is far more difficult, and you really do have to literally be creative and unique and kind of and everything else that comes with it. I needed that in order for me to set me out on the direction that I needed to, because if I'd have stepped into it and say I did somehow climb from there, I probably would have gone and disappeared off the platform a long time ago. I'll be completely honest.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So where do you find your creativity for stuff like that? Because I know, like, well, let me take season 8 for example, with the battle for Sea of Thieves, and we've got the hourglasses. You've kind of like, where did you get the inspiration, or how did you find a way to kind of build up like the dive, like with the submarine stuff? Like, how did that come about?
Oh, I just didn't.
No, really?
So I'm still not level 100 in either faction.
So, but as far as like the streaming aspect of it, though, you've created a really beautiful way to kind of set up like when you're going into a battle.
Oh, yeah. So it's, for me, everything's always about kind of putting on a show, being engaging, and being engaging with the people that are there in the stream. I guess it's like you said, it kind of links into everything I've done in the past. I always focus on trying to be as entertaining as possible. And when it came to the dives for season 8 or the hourglass fights, I was very aware that I'd talk to chat, I'd go into a dive, and then I'm kind of focused on that, and I could feel that the kind of life was being sucked out of my stream. That's just me personally, because obviously there's people out there. I mean, I'm sure they won't mind me using him as an example. I mean, look at people like Minnow, who is just phenomenal at what he does, and season 8 gave him such a freaking platform to showcase, just how incredible he is.
Oh yeah,
at what he does. But for me, it was kind of sucking the life out of what I can do. So that's when I always try and think, right, what can I do to make this a little bit more kind of engaging, immersive. So I made it so when I first dive into the the underwater tunnels, my camera dips off screen and raise again. It goes to like a green background to match the waves, and then when I get into a fight, like a siren starts playing, and that's more for my own kind of, because what that it's in my own head. That kind of I've made it known to my viewers that when that happens, it means that my alerts get turned down in volume, they get shrunk, my game audio gets turned up. This is all like automated.
Yeah.
But it's my way of kind of involving them in what's happening and not just ignoring them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So whenever I go to the battle scene, it automatically shrinks my alerts. It turns the volume down on them. It stops my game audio dipping when I speak, so I can hear everything clearly, and lets them know that I'm not going to be engaging with them as much. But yeah, I always try and find kind of, I guess, little unique ways to try and be unique. It gets harder as time, as time's gone on Twitch. It's got more and more difficult, because I know when I first started, I went overboard on Twitch. For anyone that knows my streams from many years ago, I used to be a floating head. I used to wear like a green t-shirt, green background. I was a floating head, and I had every single kind of special effect and viewer interaction that you could think of. And then over the years, as I got really into Sea of Thieves and wanted to take that a bit more serious, I slowly dialed it all down.
Yeah.
But then I'm always trying to think of ways that I can, still be creative through production value rather than just, flashing the screen with loads of nonsense, basically.
Yeah.
That was a long answer.
No, it was a fantastic, because it's been so interesting to hear how because there are successful streamers in Sea of Thieves, and not all of them do the same thing, but some of them I find you either excel as a character or you excel as a gamer. Those are like the two sides that I tend to lump people into when I'm looking at streamers. And the folks that are characters, and not to try and downplay like who they are as a person, because I think that everyone is honest to themselves to a point, and then after that it's entertainment. So I'm always interested in the characters, because the characters, I think, like I could talk to about like how good they are in PvP any day, and it would be very interesting, but it would hit for 50% of the audience. And talking to characters, I feel like, or people that make themselves as entertaining as possible when it comes to streaming, those are really, really unique, because they've figured out like what's fun. And I think that excels a lot more when it comes to being on Twitch than like the people that are just tactically really good at games. Yeah. Like I could watch Ammunition or Dr. Disrespect or Shroud any day and really have a good time, like just watching them click heads. Like that's easy. But watching like an Asmongold or some of the other streamers out there, like BBX or someone that's just a really interesting human being, those are the folks that I tend to like think I have a lot more enjoyable time watching their streams, because they're putting on a show, they're putting on a performance, and I'm there to enjoy it.
There's a reason why there's kind of much more personalities when it comes to Sea of Thieves than there is other games, to be honest, because Sea of Thieves just speaks to that kind of player. I mean, I hate to bring up Arena. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to mention the A word.
It's 100% all right.
But the Arena got took away because they say less than 2% of players were playing it. And then you've just got to look at the kind of videos that do well on YouTube and things, and it starts to paint a picture of the kind of people that are playing Sea of Thieves, and it's very easy to get lost for people, or for us, when we're very engaged in the Sea of Thieves community, on Twitter or in Discords or whatever, because we're surrounded by the same people who have all got thousands of hours in this game, play it every single day, and literally it's the top 1% of players that we engage with, and we're in such a bubble that we just don't realize the grand scale of players out there that are just there to have a laugh, have adventures, story-driven pirate adventures, basically, and player interactions and engagement and things like that. And so I think that's why personalities do really well with Sea of Thieves rather than just hardcore skilled players, is because Sea of Thieves speaks to that kind of viewer, basically.
It really does. And it's interesting because looking at the landscape, and I wanted to bring this up as well too before I forget, when talking to other players about Sea of Thieves and about the experience that they're having, we had the really fun kind of battle for Golden Sands Outpost, and our side lost. I was very disappointed about that. The PowerPoint presentation from Dead Pirate Drug, or Dread Pirate Doug. Sorry, Doug.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that. I always every time I'm like Dread Doug, Dead. Which is it?
I feel so bad. That's why I go by Doug. That's why I just call him Doug. That way I don't have to mess with anything. It's like I feel bad. But our story is what our experience is in Sea of Thieves, and I feel like so many of us have similar but unique stories about stuff that happens in Sea of Thieves all the time. And I wanted to bring up the battle for Golden Sands Outpost with you, because I wanted to get your feelings on what is it like looking at Port Merrick now and knowing that that's what we got as a result of that side winning. What is it that you wanted from that?
So obviously, I kind of had the feeling of things that I'd heard, that if Golden Sands wasn't going to be saved, it would become a new Reaper's headquarters or something. And then when Mike Chapman tweeted out saying it would have been a Reaper garrison, I was just like, I freaking told you, like, we could have had this epic like garrison for the Reapers. You know, it could have been like, you know, a new central hub for, you know, kind of, you know, combat and thing. I mean, we've already got, you know, the equivalent of, you know, I mean, I know Golden Sands is like a big trading post now or whatever, but we've got outposts. We've got plenty of outposts. we know we don't. It's just another outpost, just bigger. Like, come on, bro. I mean, I don't even, honestly, like, Golden Sands is pretty. It's, you know, sorry, it's not Golden Sands anymore. Port Merrick.
Port Merrick.
You know, Port Merrick is pretty and everything. But I don't know about you, but every time I've got to go there, I'm just kind of meh. And it's not because I'm not impressed with it or anything. I'm just like, yeah, it could have been Reaper's garrison. Do you know what I mean? I'm not even explored it properly. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
You know what's funny about that is I love going there, but I hate when I spawn there because I know it's going to be 10 minutes before I find my boat and get the supplies. So I don't even gather supplies at Golden. I just got a sanctuary or something. I know, just go with the sanctuary where it's nice and small and compact and be like, hey guys, good to see you here. It's all nice. It's like the mom and pop shop that you're like, oh God, do I have to go to Costco? Yes, we have to go to Costco. We have to go get all the big stuff because we need it. It's like, okay, but I hate walking around there for a half hour not finding anything. So because I was curious, like, how do you feel about these community decisions? Do you feel like they are a good drive for the story? Do you feel like what we're getting is soon enough or equivalent to what the effort put in? Like, how do you feel about the community decisions in general? Because I know losing twice now, I think I've lost the Golden Sands fight. Reapers didn't win on that one, and I fought for Pendragon, and he's a bloody painting in the Reaper hideout now, so I can't like, that's all I get. But do you feel like we're getting the equivalent of what should be like something as epic as like a community decision? Like, do you feel like?
So I've got to remember that you're doing a podcast, and I've got to let you ask you questions, because when you've said, I was like, yes, I love them. I like, but I think it's hard. So like, I'm a pain in the backside because I always try and play devil's advocate with everything.
Oh, good. We're the same type of person.
I know, but people always think I'm argumentative. I'm like, no, I'm just playing devil's advocate because I can't make an educated decision unless I understand both points of the argument. But people think that I'm just arguing anyway. That's another tangent. It gets me in heaps of trouble. I can't even begin to tell you. But
I respect.
No, so I love the player-driven decisions, and the reason that I love them is because I love having a campaign, like myself. Like, I love going to Twitter. I love like doing a thing on my channel. I mean, I don't know if you, when I did the, I don't want to say anything's name. When I did the energy drink campaign to have like that flavor. Yeah. And they made like a behavior, and you know, I love all that kind of like, you know, kind of driving up a campaign, getting people to rally behind something. Yeah. And I loved the back and forth. I mean, I'm not obviously taking it seriously. The Reapers versus Athena. It's a video game for, you know. Yeah. I don't want to swear. Sorry. It's a video game. For hell's sake, I don't know. But so I'm not, you know, as much as I'm kind of like going overboard. And whenever someone comes into my chat and they're like, you know, Team Pendragon, you know, obviously I go overboard and I'm like, what do you mean? And, you know, and like just have a bit of back and forth with them. You know, it's all in good fun. But I absolutely, I love the player-driven narratives. I thought it was a genius play. My reservations are that, again, I don't know if like we're just kind of skimming the top % of players, because I always feel like for the casual players, that are just opening up their Xbox once in a while, do they even know what's going on?
Yes.
Because if you're not on Twitter, if you're not watching Twitch streams, which is the vast majority of Sea of Thieves players are not actively, following Twitter on. I mean, I think of myself before I became a content creator. I didn't use Twitter. I didn't watch Twitch. I wouldn't have a clue. I would not have a clue what's going on in Sea of Thieves. I mean, I would because it's Sea of Thieves, but any other game, if that makes sense.
Oh, no,
so I always worry about that side of the player base with things like that.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Because it does. It feels like we are engaging with the like of the monthly active users. It feels like maybe 5% of them are the ones that are actively working on stuff going on with the mysteries or like any of the little teasers and stuff that they do, or the community stuff. And I'm constantly pushing, and it always tends to come across as like I'm trying to make things too casual. It's like I want things to be casual because I want players to feel like they understand what's going on with everything that's going on in Sea of Thieves, because there's so much that it's so hard to keep up with that stuff. But
this is what I always keep trying to say to people: is always try and make it, when it comes to content creators, is try and remember and be accessible to all them new players that are coming in, or not even just new players coming in, just to all the casuals. And I guess that's why Rare does have such like a dedicated partner program, is because they know that the vast amount of players are probably not getting this information, and they get that information from Sea of Thieves streamers. So, do you know what I mean? It's kind of like that kind of loop to get information out there, because, how else they're going to get the information to the players? We have enough UI pages in the game. We cannot add any more explaining everything that's going on.
I just need them to do cinematics. I don't even know what I need, but
well, no, you're right, because I mean, I don't know, it's probably impossible, but like, I would love it if when you open up Sea of Thieves, when there's been an update or a new cinematic released or anything, you open the game and it plays that cinematic, and it's unskippable just once. Just once. Let it play that cinematic through, and then maybe have a wall of text afterwards and press A to acknowledge it. This is the event that's happening. These are the things that will be happening. And then people can just jump into it. That's always been kind of my idea or thought for it. Because I know games have done that in the past. Where there's a new season and have,
World of Warcraft, like the big ones are out. Like Call of Duty has like cinematics that like pull you into the latest season to let you know what's going on. And like, I agree. I think it was ironic that we got rid of the opening cinematic that takes you on the little ship traveling across the map and stuff, and then we have like a wake up animation that we can't. So it's so funny, like how where that buffer's been. But and for a long time I think I was asking for the like a message board or like a bulletin board to be the thing. It's like every time you log into the game, there's a message board, and that message board you can go to and read, and it'll show you like these are the patch notes, these are the cosmetics that are in the game.
But even that, I mean, so many players, when they come into my stream and you mention something like the quest board, and like, what's a quest board?
Yes.
And the amount of times I refill, and I do this, I purposefully do this every drops, just for a bit of conversation. I refill an ammo crate, and there is always someone that says like, wait, you can refill ammo crates? Do you know, it's just, and you don't realize, because we're only kind of engaging with, like I say, that top percent, but you just don't realize how many like more casual players are out there that just don't know these things. Who I don't want to say who I was playing with the other day because I embarrass them, but they didn't know there was a pirate code in the tavern, and they're a Sea of Thieves partner. And this is what I mean.
I thought
so, like, having a message board in the game, again, it needs to be in the face. It needs to be, when a new season comes out, it pops up on screen, a text to read through with all that's happening, and then you can just skip, and it pins it somewhere so you can go back to it if you need to.
I will call her out. I thought you were going to bring up Kraken and the rowboat breaks. I 100% thought it was going to be the breaks. Wasn't
breaks?
Yeah, wasn't she the one that like didn't realize that there were breaks on the rowboat? I could have swore I saw it.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but she wasn't on crew with me if it was.
I'll have to see if that. I may have to fact check myself after this and go and try and dig up that tweet. But or no, maybe it was Chloe. Oh, it might have been Chloe that didn't know. I hate my memory. But yeah, so I wanted to because we're talking about like story with Sea of Thieves. We're talking about like the personal stories and stuff like that. We recently got the announcement for the Steam Forged games for the board game. Are you into board games when it comes to like games in general, or is it all video games?
I love family games. So the silly little family games that I can play. Again, every single like Friday night, me, my mum, and my siblings would all play like, you know, Cluedo or Frustration, Monopoly, and things like that. And I do that with my little boy and my wife. Like on an evening, we'll let him stay up late if we all sit and play like Super Mario, Monopoly, or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I do have board games behind me. Shameably, they've never been opened. They're just like collectibles.
Yeah.
I've got like the Nemesis board games because the developers gifted them to me, and they're incredible.
Nice.
But I've never opened it.
Yeah.
I've got the Sea of Thieves board game. I've got the Sea of Thieves puzzle, you know, jigsaw puzzle and everything. But no, but I do have the new board game on order. And it is on the way, even though I'll probably never play it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to set up like a live stream, and we talk about this all the time. You know, I mean, I've got 6 bloody webcams, and I don't use any of them. You know, I could have the webcams all set up around the board game, and we could all play it, you know, live on Twitch, and it would be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's just finding the time and the energy and the effort to set. I mean, you would be alarmed if I showed you. I've got a notepad with like all the ideas of stuff that I have wanted to do, and this spans back over years that I've just never got round to the chance to do.
Yeah.
And that is one of them. But no, I have pre-ordered the board game, and I thought it was arriving today because I got which was very early, I know, but like, I got a notification on my phone saying your parcel from like Something Entertainment, and I'm like, yo, that's got to be the board game. So I don't know if I was like, that's so early. How did I get so lucky? And I don't know if you saw my tweet today.
Yeah, I did.
I took a picture of my desk, and I'm like, it's the unboxing table. Well, guess what? It wasn't the board game. It was a powered extension cord. So yeah, that was.
was it a good unboxing though? Like, do you go like all out and do the white gloves, and you're like, this is where you would plug it into the wall, and this is how many outlets you have, and if you can see here, it has a nice little section for USB plugins. Surge protectors are amazing.
Let me explain something to you. Do you know how hard it is to ASMR open a power cable?
That sounds like a challenge. I feel like I need to order. I feel like I need to order one of these and see what I can do. So like you, I spend most of my time. First off, I'm an only child, so I don't have any siblings to really rely on it, and I don't have any friends outside of what's in my computer right now. So thank you to all the people that are online saving me that going outside aspect of life. But I too have the role playing game. And I appreciate that. I have my Gargoyles one as well too. And my wife has actually sat down with me once and we played it and we had a good time. And then she bugged me to play it more, which was surprising because I wasn't expecting that. And I completely keep putting it off because there's video games that I want to play. So I'm interested in the Steam Forged game because I like that type of gameplay style. I like sitting down with other people, but it really does come down to time. And I think unless you have like a tight knit group that's close by that you can kind of sit in and like spend time with, you know, get a couple brews together, sit down, make a night of it. I feel like I will miss out on that type of gameplay. So I always hope that there will be an event that we can go to that will have like-minded pirates there who are more knowledgeable about these types of things to be able to do that and know that it's a one-off, it's a sit down, we've got time just for this one situation and be able to do something like that. So I'm hoping that that's the case. I
always feel it's harder for you guys in the US. It's like over here we had there was COVID killed it, which was heartbreaking. Yeah. Every month we used to have a Sea of Thieves like unofficial meetup at a gaming arena. And so there was like loads of gaming PCs, and that's how I met Calamity Kez from the Sea of Thieves UK community.
No way.
So I just turned up there, and it was funny. It was funny because she walked up to me and she said, "You're right, pet. I'm Kez," and I'm like, I thought she worked there. I didn't realize that she was her at first, and I thought she was a really keen member of staff. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, lovely to meet you." So that was a bit awkward, but no, and that was really cool because they did that every month, and we'd meet up. They'd they'd like get me to spin up a private server, and we'd just do like a gold rush, and we'd all just like be shouting at each other over the PCs and stuff.
That's cool.
And you know, you're talking about board games, and I'm sat here thinking, like, so next weekend, Happy Kraken X and Serpents are both coming over to mine, just for a few like beers and cocktails. You know, I met up with like Lady Harada and her fella and Bacon and Bread and Sumo. We all met up in York a few weeks ago, and before that I met up with like Let's Drew This and Kraken. Everyone, we all came for like burgers and stuff. So I think that's just one of those things that, you know, even like Beardageddon's probably the furthest from me, but we still get to have like those kind of meetups. So I mean, it's like 7 to 8 hours for us because he just lives like in the middle of nowhere. But you know, it's possible. Whereas I feel like for you guys in the US, if you try and organize anything, all you ever get is why not West Coast, or well, why not? You know, it's epic distances in order to see people.
It's funny because when the megalodon, the rare megalodon was being shipped around to different locations with Chokmuju, I opted as one of the points of interest for people that wanted to like meet up to do it. And we got to do the meetup, and it was literally 3 weeks before lockdown. And it was amazing. We went to go visit a ship. We all hung out. We got to walk around. We did a crunch challenge. We had dinner at that point, and it was absolutely amazing. But like trying to like that, I think that's why I'm looking forward to SOT Fest NA so much, is because I have at least a dozen friends on it from like Central all the way to East Coast that I've known for so long. And so many of them are people that I talk to on a daily basis, that I love hearing their stories, and I've never gotten a chance to meet them. And this is going to be like and thanks to Pirate Dead Doug to make sure. Thanks to Doug. I'm not even going to try and attempt it again. I feel so bad. Thanks to Doug for putting this all together, because man, I don't care what happens at SOT Fest. It's the perfect excuse for me to blow a bunch of money to go visit folks that I have not seen at all.
Dude, that was me for TwitchCon US last year.
Oh, like, God. I wanted to go to that.
Dude, I can't even. I probably spent a maximum of 20 minutes in the convention center all weekend overall. I am not even joking. Like, I went to TwitchCon EU and that was incredible. And like, you know, I met so many wonderful people there, and like, you know, I met I think that's where I first met Micro Mads and like, you know, nice. We get on so well now, and I met so many like people there and stuff. But like the US one, and these are all people that I've just, you know, never had the opportunity to like to meet face to face or anything. And I think I just put a tweet out just saying, I found this bar. It's on the main strip. If any Sea of Thieves folk or any meet up and have a good time, let's meet up there. Every single night we took over the whole outdoor area of that bar. It was all Sea of Thieves folks. We were all just a bunch of loud, rowdy pirates. All the staff got to know us and made sure we had the space whenever we wanted it, because we were spending that much money. But like meeting, I don't want to start mentioning names, because like I know that I'm going to like not mention people. And there was so many incredible people, but like I don't think Crotuk and Woodrow just understand how much I adore them too. And even like you know, Alex, BBXH, Someone XH. Now I've only had limited interactions with them, and honestly, my like kind of off the mark opinion was like, oh, I'm not going to get on with these guys. Oh, this is going to be, you know. And honestly, like I would run away with Someone XH. That man is just an incredible human being. And like Alex and BBXH was just so lovely to hang out with that weekend. And you know, you just meet someone and go, these are like wonderfully genuine people, and it was just an absolute like privilege to be in their presence.
Oh, that's what I enjoyed about SOT Fest last year was getting to be with people who understood my stupid obsession with this game and feel like I wasn't alone. And I it's like months away, and I can't wait. It feels like it's forever away, but it also feels like it's right next week. But I'm so looking forward to that. So I don't know, man. I wish there was a way that I could have that on like a weekly basis, man. If I could just, if there was a way that I could take that energy into every week, I feel like I could conquer the world, because it was just it was so good, man. It was so much fun. And I just, I'm missing it so much right now because of that. So,
especially now the sun's coming back out and you're just like, I just want to be outside and have a beer, man.
I know. Oh my God. Like it wasn't, I don't think it was, I know it was like last week. Like it was like a Friday afternoon. I was like, honey, you want to go for a walk? She's like, who are you? What did you do with my husband? What do you mean you want to go for a walk outside? And she's like, well, I got a book club in like half an hour. And I'm like, well, do you want to go for a walk for like half an hour? She's like, yeah. And we had it was so nice. It was so freaking nice out. It was like 23 degrees Celsius. It was beautiful. There was a slight breeze. It was quiet. There was not like a whole bunch of noise going on. And it was just, it was exceptional. It was probably one of the nicest afternoons I'd had outside in a hot while. So I was looking for that. I want to know, have you been keeping up with the rat at all on social media? Like the little rat that's been hiding in all the social media posts from Sea of Thieves?
No. What?
No.
I knew of it from the video and like, the reveal video for the season, but I had no idea that there was putting the rat in. So
they're putting the rat in. Like,
okay, well,
everything.
This is my last day as a Sea of Thieves partner. I'll be getting the email in the morning.
I did not realize I had just canceled the beard. We'll edit it all out. I'm so sorry. I don't. You can't see it, but
I had no idea there was doing it. See, this is what I mean, though. Like, so please do tell me more about this. But just to go off on a tangent, like, and this is me who's supposed to be hyper engaged with the game. How are the more casual players supposed to know that anything's going on? But anyway,
that's what I want to get at. So it's just like, I'm curious how many folks have been keeping an eye on social media with because it's almost every single like post that is like just a regular like random tweet that they put out, and there's always a picture, and the picture's always in 4K, and they've always photoshopped a little rat with the little green eyes into it. And Falcor's like figured out like the first letter of every post is leading up to a sentence that is explaining like what we have to go looking for and stuff. And Davram TV from Pirate Talk Radio says it's going to be a traitor, and I'm just like I love that they're doing this, but I'm very curious, even from like a partner standpoint, like, do you think this is working? Like, do you think the engagement is here for just the hyper focused and they're having fun with it and that this is their treat? Or do you think that the mysteries need to be like ripped open like a bag of chips and just like given to everyone to be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is why you need to be excited about Sea of Thieves, because we've got a huge mystery going on right now. Like, where do you fall? Because it feels like you're missing some of the stuff that they're putting out if it wasn't like right in your face. I guess it's one of these, though, because this is the problem with Sea of Thieves is the player base is so varied and we all have our own kind of different styles of play and how, and there's that various different degrees of engagement. Yeah. So I guess it's kind of ticking a box for a percentage. Mm-hmm. And as long as they're ticking that box for as many of the players as possible, like the more casual players will probably, when the adventure comes into game and they get the message from Lorena saying, go do this quest, they'll probably be happy with that and they'll lead in from that. Again, this is me kind of playing that devil's advocate again. Mm-hmm. So I guess I guess it is just about trying to keep everybody happy, which is never going to happen. So it's about trying to keep as many people happy as possible. Yeah, I'm always curious I would love to understand like the analytics behind the completion rate for adventures and mysteries, because it was a topic that I brought up a couple episodes ago about how many people had actually like completed the first mystery, like how well did that hit, and what could they do to try and ramp that up so there's higher engagement, and how long should it be and how much should it kick into like the actual game as opposed to like social media posts and stuff like that. I mean, I'll be honest with that first mystery. That was so like I love the adventures in Sea of Thieves. I know a lot of people like prefer the tall tales and stuff, but see that last adventure when they got rid of the journals and everything, and they used like the shadows of memories or whatever. That was incredible. That was one of my favorite Sea of Thieves moments in a long time. Oh my god! And if they can take the PvE spawns out of it, it will be an 11 out of 10.
honestly, because I just thought it was phenomenal. But the mystery, the DeMarco mystery, I couldn't figure any of that out. I used to, so when I was doing stuff in game, it kind of spelled out how bad it was to me. Do you remember when you used to go to the different islands and I think you had to like play shanties and like pictures appeared on rocks?
Yeah.
So I was saying, and using the spyglass, that was it. Yeah. I spent hours with that spyglass trying to figure out how to use it, and then and people in chat were saying, "You've just got to go." I'm like, "No, I don't want to know where I need to go to do it. I want to know how I'm supposed to come to that conclusion."
Yes.
That I wanted to, experience the full thing. I don't care that, someone's told me the answer. I don't mind backseat gaming, but how do we come to this conclusion? Yeah. And I kid you not, I sat there and I ended up not playing the game, and I was looking at the camera, and for 20 minutes, I was like, can anyone in this chat tell me how you're supposed to come to the conclusion that you have to go to this point and do this with a spyglass? All of them, not one person that all just got the answer from YouTube, another streamer. And I was just like, this mystery isn't working. Like, if no one can actually, I don't know if it was too complicated, when you're getting the emails with the random little, like word searches and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And this is, again, this is me who's supposed to be a more engaged player. I'm like, I don't know, or I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do with this. To go back, Rare have done some stuff like that incredibly well. I remember that the Golden Banana event, that was incredible. I loved that so much back in the day. Yeah. But I think they've been quite open and admitted that, there were things that worked really well with that mystery, and there were things that just kind of really didn't. And they're taking that on board for the next one. I loved the ending of it. I loved, when you went down there, that it was amazing. And the music... So I don't know if you've heard is it called the Fallen Sea Dog, the piece of music that they wrote for that? When you play it in its entirety, it's just, if you've ever seen the movie The Last of the Mohicans with Enya that does a soundtrack, it's very reminiscent of that, and it's like, this is so good. But so that was all amazing. Like the actual gameplay of it and stuff was amazing. Like, I couldn't figure it out.
I'm right there, and I feel like you just unlocked a core memory, because Enya just popped into my head. And now I'm just constantly thinking about childhood memories about when I was listening to Enya.
No matter where you go.
Oh my God, that's so good. Oh, I love it. With the mysteries, it feels like I'm not smart enough to work those out. If I'm being 100% honest, I love that they're there. I don't think I'm smart enough to put that stuff together, and I rely heavily on the Ancient Isles University. I rely heavily on a Rare Thief for putting it together. Merfolk Lullaby for having like interactive things on his website to be able to do all that. And I try and get that information fed out to people when I've worked it out on the backs of other people, so that I can try and bring it to a broader audience. But I would love it if Rare did like a video that summarized everything that up to a certain point, and they released on like a monthly schedule, like, hey, this is all the things that you might have missed for the mystery up into this point, and just kind of like have Charlie Day looking at the board with all the strings attached, pointing out to me how it's working.
They did have that wonderful video that they put out a couple of times. Was it John McMurtry, where it's like, so far in the adventure or whatever, and then it like just rattled through everything that had happened. So in the mystery, and he rattled through everything, and it was so well done, and it was hilarious.
I hope that there's something like that.
It was just the actual puzzles were just like, I don't know. For me, they were just mind melting, and I could not figure out how to get to the point that people had got to. And I don't think most people did. I think they just looked up the answer online. Yeah. And I think if they can, you go back to the original Tall Tales, and the puzzles in the Tall Tales, some of them are actually quite difficult. But
Stars of a Thief.
They're not out there. They're not completely out there. You can figure them out. And what's wonderful about those Tall Tales is, when you do finally figure it out, it's such a like, oh my god, like a moment, and it's so obvious now. I mean, the one I had a hard time with was when you've got the wooden board and it's got like the cutout in it, and I was walking around for hours with this wooden board. I was like, where am I supposed to do this? And then someone in my chat, because I said I don't want, because back then I was playing on an Xbox and I'm like, I don't want any backseat gaming because I was, very like, but now I don't care. But and then someone just typed in chat, press left trigger. I'm like, wait, what? And it flipped it around and it had the island location on the back. I was like, no way. But it's like that, even that took me back to like being very young in gaming, because games were like that. Like you couldn't just look up the answers online and the puzzle. And then after hours, you just do something simple and realize it was there all along. I mean, we're going back to Metal Gear Solid where you had to look at the back of the case to get the answer to the damn code.
Oh my God. I forgot all about that.
I think there was like a door code, and then the code was on the back of the CD case, which was an amazing Hideo Kojima genius, because it meant anyone that had pirated that game couldn't get the answer.
Really bad for future digital versions of the game, but no, I had that same feeling when I was a kid, and I got a Super Nintendo. The first game that was bundled with it was A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And my little like brain just could not understand like what to do with that game. They're like, here's a lantern. And I'm like, what do I do with this?
Dude, it's one of my favorite games of all time.
It's the
honestly.
Best. It's the best. It's Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is like, there's that, and then there's like Ocarina of Time, and then like right somewhere in that area is A Link Between Worlds, and those are like my top three.
I think my Super Nintendo came with Super Mario World, then I had Super Mario All Stars and Zelda: A Link to the Past, and I just played the hell out of them.
What else do you need? Oh my God, that's like the best lineup right there. Like you throw a couple more
and
on
Mortal Kombat. Sorry, Mortal Kombat. I remember many hours on Mortal Kombat.
Man, I had a buddy of mine that I would go visit, and the only reason I would go over to his place was because I had Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo, but he had a Genesis, so clearly he had the right version of Mortal Kombat. So I would learn all the fatalities on my own against the computer, and then, or like player two, like it was just like I was just controller plugged in, and I would do everything. And then I would go over to his place to watch all the really cool fatalities with the blood and stuff on the Sega version. So, but that was a weird way to end on the mystery conversation.
What a divergence.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm just sat here. I actually remember the first time I defeated Shang Tsung. I remember I'd never get past Gordo, and I would get past Gordo in that fight with Shang Tsung. I remember the first time I did it, my tiny little hands, I could barely move my fingers, but I think I literally cried. I literally think I cried when I finished that game.
Oh my God, that's great. Okay, so to round things off, I asked my patrons to send in questions, because I wanted to give them opportunity to join in on the conversation. So Norwegian wanted to ask you, what was the first moment in the game that made you fall in love with Sea of Thieves, or realize that this was going to be a game that you would never want to stop playing?
I remember, so I played a lot of the alpha and the beta, so that's kind of obviously there was lots of moments when the game did launch that kind of solidified it, but I remember playing the alpha, and I can't remember what stage we was at. I can't remember if it was when we had the pistol or not. But either way, I just remember that I went to an island, and I was solo. And I went to this island, and I just like crashed into it and jumped onto the beach, and another ship came billowing in, T-boned my ship, and it was like, sorry, dude. And then I remember all his crewmates jumped onto the island, and then some more ships saw us. Either way, we ended up with like a large group of us all on an island, and we must have spent 6 hours there just talking about the game, try to teach each other how to do the sword lunge jump.
Yeah.
Talking about stuff that was insiders and not inside. It was pioneers at the time, thinking we was all really cool. It's like, yeah, we're part of the pioneers, doing secret handshakes and whatever. But just trying to, and just testing things. Just saying, oh, I wonder if this would work. Oh, I wonder what would happen if he did this. And because there was no direction, there was no like instruction or anything. It was just, what if this happened when we did this? I still speak to some of those folks, and because I mean that's I'm one of them. we started up a Facebook fan page for Sea of Thieves, and that's where everything started for me. Yeah, that's where everything started for me for like getting known on Facebook and then getting into Twitch, because that's when I learned what Twitch was.
Really?
Yeah. So, because he was like,
crazy.
"Hey, I'm thinking about starting up a fan page. Do you want to be a part of it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
So I can't believe I didn't ask this earlier, but I'm very curious. Where did Behaving Beardly come from, and why Beardly?
So there was me and a friend, and so this all just happened. So basically, because I jumped into this is the alpha and the beta of Sea of Thieves, and I was seeing things pop up for Mixer, and Sea of Thieves were doing like promotions for game cosmetics, and there was a guy called Shaka Panda who was playing Rocket League, and I was like, "Yo, this is kind of cool." And so I had a friend that had always been really into YouTube, not creating content, but just like watching YouTube content. Because, like I said, I didn't watch any, live streaming or VOD content at all.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Yo, let's start up a YouTube channel." And at the time, I did a lot of home brewing. I know this is a lot going on right now. I'm sorry.
No, I'm with you.
We was doing a lot of home brewing together, and we was like, what if we made home brewing tutorials, how to make your own beer? And so when we was coming up with names, we'd both just become dads. So the name we wanted to go with was Men Behaving Dadly, which was a play on the words from the old TV show Men Behaving Badly. But I did a lot of Googling, saw that name had been used elsewhere, and, I just wanted something that was completely unique. And by pure coincidence, I'd just been on holiday. I hadn't shaved. He had a beard anyway. And I was like, oh, what if we was Men Behaving Beardly? And he was like, ship it. I mean, back then I would literally get a shave and would still be called Men Behaving Beardly. But like I've changed my email on everything, and it is info@behavingbeardly.co.uk. But my Twitch email address, because it's the same, and my YouTube email address is still Men Behaving Beardly. And because that's what it all was at first. So I just created a YouTube, a Twitch, and everything I could think of, I just created all of them as Men Behaving Beardly. And like I said, it was geared around home brewing content.
So interesting. So crazy. Okay, man. That's interesting. So I've been CaptainLogun far before Sea of Thieves ever came out. Like I was just, it was a thing that I had like way back when I was playing like World of Warcraft, and it's been CaptainLogun or CaptainLogun for forever. So when Sea of Thieves came out, it was like, oh, I have to. I have to I keep it. But Keelhauled was like a one off the cuff streaming the beta, and just been like talking to Terra Nova, who was a guy that I met during the beta, and I was like, oh, I feel like I want to do a podcast about that, but I need like the name. And he's like, I was like, what's a good name? And he's like, Keelhauled. And I'm like, done. All right, we'll go with that. So it's weird how sometimes these things just pop into existence, and it's like no question, just go with that. Just drop in with that.
Well, that was it. That fan page we came up with. I remember there was like 5 of us in a Facebook group chat. Yeah, we're all that old. In a Facebook group chat, and we're like, should we have a name? And this one guy was like, how about Horseman's Fleet? Ship it, done it, pack it, let's go.
That's awesome. So okay, so with Behaving Beardly, how often do you groom your beard? Because I imagine it's got to be like a daily type thing.
Dude, it grows like this. I am not even joking. So like, everyone's always like, oh, what oils do you use? How often do you trim it? I'm like, no. I literally, I have a shower every morning. I use a hair conditioner. And then I kind of like, I think it's called a wet brush. I don't know. It was an old one, my wife's. I'm still using it 5 years later. And I basically back brush my beard while hair drying it, but that's it.
Oh wow, that's so different than what I was expecting. There's folks that have like waxes, and they've come up with their own stuff.
I know, I tried all that, and I get that many sponsors of folks like, hey, you want to be sponsored by our beard groom brand? And I'm like, no, beard wax is awful. Like honestly, ask Kraken, she'll let you know, because. One time Kraken went to pick me up, and I think was going to London. I think it was. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make an effort. I've got a tin of beard wax that's been in there for 6 years. So I opened it. Good. I put some beard wax in my beard, And you know what you can't do when you've got beard wax in your beard?
Stroke
you
your
can't
beard.
touch your beard.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I touch my beard a lot. So like, I'm in the car, I'm talking to Kraken, I'm very expressive with my hands, and I'm touching my beard. And then I touched her dashboard. Well, now she's got beard oil stained handprints on the dashboard of her car. So I'm like, yeah, it's just not good. Now, apparently, beard oils are great if you have dry skin or flaky skin or anything. And that's the idea of it. It doesn't, I mean, and if it gets really hot outside, like, yes, it's probably great to stop it kind of fluffing up or whatever, but no, I don't. It just grows like this.
Man, see, that's good genetics right there. Like I am Caucasian, but I have a very significant portion of my blood is Puerto Rican. So I've got the mustache and I've got the goatee, but all of this, all of the side cheekness, all of that is about as Joe Dirt as you can get, thanks to my Texan father. And I can't I can get that redneck line along the side of my cheek, and that's it. So I either look like full Puerto Rican, like strong pencil mustache if I wanted it, or it's just like redneck up all the way. And that's,
but dude, the hereditary hair loss, though, you know, I might have the beard, but I ain't got the hair, so
yeah, no, it's there. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
I recognize that hat. I understand why that hat is that hat. I have that same hat.
It was great. I mean, again, this is a very UK thing. Sorry, because I know it's different in the US, but I know when I was at school, like, I kid you not, from the age of 14, I had like huge sideburns. And I could grow a bit of a goatee, and then by the time I was like 16, 17, I had like the chin strap beard, and like all the college kids would send me to go pick up their alcohol from. Because I looked older than they did. You know, I think I've been 5'10" since I was 15 years old. I just stopped growing at 15. But I was like really tall. I had like all this facial hair, and I'd be like, so they'd all send me in to go buy the booze for a Friday night.
That's so funny. All right, so with Sea of Thieves being your job, what other games do you like to play nowadays?
I don't play any games off stream, which is kind of sad. I do miss it. But it's kind of one of those sacrifices that I've just accepted I've had to make in order for content creation to work. There has to be sacrifices somewhere, you know, and I'm never going to sacrifice time with my wife and child. You know, like this week I've been spending a lot of time, you know, doing my garden up, but I know that's like a space for us, and I can, you know, and have that escape, and it's there on my doorstep.
Yeah. Looks great, by the way.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's very rare occasions where I might just, like, you know, try a game off stream. I mean, I actually love first person shooters. I know a lot of people are always surprised. I think I put a clip up the other day of me playing Apex, and people's brains melted at the fact I was playing Apex. It's like, what? But no, Gears of War. I have such a strong affinity with Gears of War. I always have. I love Gears of War so much. And dude, this isn't even once a month, but like, you know, in a very blue moon, like if the wife's like, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to bed early or whatever, I'll be like, I'm going to jump on the PC on the Gears of War for 2 hours and just, you know, and just open up an online match, get my ass handed to me because I'm so out of practice.
Yeah.
And then that's it. But yeah, I literally just don't game off stream anymore.
I
used to love games like I used to love playing like Rocket League and stuff like that. Believe it or not, but again, I love racing sims. Like when the new Motorsport comes out, I will be playing that. I will, cause I love like Forza Horizons are kind of fun, but I get bored of them after a couple of hours. But and I probably wouldn't stream it because I know people would just be like bewildered as to why I'm just completely focused on it.
Yeah.
But I used to play a lot of F1 sims, and I love Forza Motorsport.
Man,
yeah,
that surprised me. That honestly, more than the Apex Legends, I'm more surprised at how big of a fan you are of the Forza series, because that's not one that is an exceptionally niche group of folks that like that that go in for the racing sim type stuff, and it's very, very interesting to talk to those fans because the passion is so cool to hear them talk about like all the little things that they love about those type of games.
I know when I first started on Twitch, like I didn't want to play Sea of Thieves, funnily enough. I wanted to be like an entertainer and do like game shows. That was how I launched my channel. Was like I did like interactive chat shows with chat and
Really?
you know, the chat bots and things that we have now and the channel interactions, they didn't exist. So me and a guy called Larry IRL, who is an absolute legend, and a guy called Rough Gaming, we used to all be very much into our you know, creating systems for streams that had never existed before. So like, I think I remember I was explaining to people because no one could. It baffled people that I could have an alert that was like a normal alert, but then a full screen alert if it was like a higher give sub or whatever, because that stuff didn't exist, and it's all kind of come about in such a short amount of time. And I'm trying to think of things that we used to, and my brain's going absolutely dead. Oh yeah, so like, you know, typing a command in chat and an animation playing on screen, like that didn't exist, and then I was doing it. And so I was trying to like create game shows with all that kind of interaction and stuff. But then during the week on like my shorter streams, like on a weekday, I'd always play something like Forza Motorsport, Gears of War, Rocket League, and I was really into Dead Island, which Dead Island 2 comes out on Friday, so I'll be playing that on Friday as well.
I just bought the first one. I've never played it, but it's always been one of those like I really want to play that and never played them. I downloaded the first one last night and I want to jump into it because I'm interested in the second one.
Yeah, I'm it's one of the it's just it's one that I'm putting. So I'm gonna do an extra stream on Friday and play it, I think, which I wouldn't normally ever do. But it's kind of a full circle moment for me, and the devs have been really kind to me over the past few weeks, and so I really want to jump into that.
I saw that you were like trying to figure out what the embargo is, which I think the embargo is actually up right now because I've been seeing a bunch of reviews go up for it. So I'll have to ask my friend.
I was trying to see what the embargo is.
No, I was sorry.
Oh, you was. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, I don't know. I don't know if you saw it because it was really cool. They sent me a I don't even know what you call it, AMD 7900 GPU. For the launch of Dead Island, and they were like, you know, if you're going to play Dead Island, you might as well play it on the best specs. And I'm like, let's go.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome of them. But yeah, it was weird. I don't know why I kind of got so like, you know, it's a full circle moment that Deep Silver reached out to me when it was literally the first computer game that I played on my Twitch channel, live sort of thing, other than Sea of Thieves. Sorry, but yeah,
that's so cool though. Oh man. That's awesome. I love that. I'll probably check out the this will be going out after that stream, but I'm probably going to check out your Dead Island playthrough because I want to play that. I probably won't pick it up right away because I'm waiting for Star Wars Jedi. So that's
another. I can't wait for that.
I know. Okay, so last question here because I think this is probably one of the more important ones that helped kind of push me to get in contact with you. After your stream with Sightless Combat, how do you feel about gamers with sight disabilities, and what things do you think could be added to games to help all disabled gamers?
This is what is really hard. So that stream, and for anyone that obviously doesn't know, I did a stream with like sightless filters that RNIB had organized and approached me, which was incredible that they'd even asked me to do. Honestly, it was such a wonderful campaign to be a part of and learn more about the work they've done in the past within other industries. But just identify. So like, for me, when, you know, Rare, like, you know, we've added this for people that are sightless, and obviously I've sailed with like Shasters before, who's a sightless creator. And so I'd kind of had like very limited like knowledge or awareness, and I knew of sightless combat, and knowing that, you know, is 100% sight loss. I just kind of sat in my head that they're trying to make these games for people with no sight, like no sight at all. And so I kind of dismissed it, which is kind of one of those sobering moments where you're like, God, you've been a bit of a, because I kind of dismissed it as, well, what can game developers do? They literally can't do anything. You know, well, they can do things. They can all do so much.
Yeah.
But how do they make a game like Sea of Thieves, you know, fully accessible to someone that literally can't see anything? But doing that with the different filters, realizing that sight loss is a spectrum, and there is definitely things that can and should be done within video games that can make these video games like 100% accessible to those with sight limiting conditions. You know, it was, I think I used one as an example. So I was doing like an X-Max spot quest, and you know, they've got the ticking on the compass, which was amazing. I managed to find where the dig was. I started digging, found the chest, but then the PvE spawned. And so I was like flailing around trying to kill this PvE, which I was using sound cues. And I'm like, I was saying, I know this game at the back of my hand, and I know the sounds and I know the environment. And then I was really proud of myself. I killed all the skellies that had popped, but then I couldn't figure out where the treasure was because obviously I couldn't really see very well. And I'm like, well, I've had to move around because I'm fighting these skellies. Now, how do I find that loot that I've already dug up? Because my compass now won't take me to it because it's already been started to be dug up. So like, things that, maybe they could have like a ticker for, your quest loot or something until it's returned to the ship or, just things like that. I mean, I don't really know how this is the difficult job the developers have, but this is why RNIB have set up this campaign. Is they are setting up a panel of people with site limiting conditions. They are wanting, they're wanting people with site limited conditions to come to them and join this panel, but they're wanting developers to work with that panel to get this kind of input from people that are limited and basically can make these games for. And I think the important message I was trying to get out was, it's great the developers are always trying to retrofit these kind of things, but it's the development teams that put them in at the development stage and make them a fundamental mechanic of the game that makes them so much more accessible and I guess easier to implement and use and things like that.
It's so interesting to talk to people about what is accessibility. Is it something that is going to make the game easy? Is it going to make the game too easy? Something like that. I love that this campaign is effectively sourcing as much information about vision loss in specific to give information to the devs that will be actionable information, stuff that they can take a look at and say okay, now that we understand these are the things that people are running into with this type of accessibility need, we can address that in particular and try and build tools that will afford them the same level of understanding and comprehension in the game as people with a better sight than what they're dealing with and stuff. And as someone who wears glasses and has bad vision, I definitely noticed over the years, my vision is starting to wane, and thankfully I don't have any kind of conditions that prevent me from, being able to see stuff beyond just what my glasses afford me. But there is 100% a fear that at some point my condition will degenerate to a point where I will not be able to I can't have surgery for LASIK right now. I don't know what I'll have available to me in the future. So championing things like this to me is it's an insurance plan for myself, knowing that it's a possibility that I'd run into that. And
I mean, some of those statistics we went through on that stream were, we was only talking UK statistics as well.
Yeah.
And it was 250 people a day, I think it was, in the UK are declared legally blind.
Yeah.
That's every single day. And I'm like, that's a lot of people on this tiny speck of the planet. And so I forgot what I was gonna kind of say something on that point then, but it's just literally left my head. But the RNIB people were in my chat and they were like, and I was sat there saying, that's scary. That is a scary number. And she was like, well, this is what we're about, is making it be not so scary. It's going to happen, but we can make it not be a scary, because going off on a tangent, they've made a shop that's for people with sight loss. So it's all the products are have the braille on, all the shelves of the braille on. They've made and the one that blew my mind, and I just it's you don't think of things like this. They'd made a pregnancy test for people with sight loss, because it's it's such a personal moment, and you don't want. I guess you could with your partner, but being able to do the pregnancy test yourself, and have that moment yourself. It's stuff like that, and it's it kind of wakes you up, to the need for this kind of thing.
It's a lot of in speaking of some of the troubles that we were running into with meeting up with people during the pandemic and the height of it. Every COVID test I've ever taken, not one of them accommodated folks with vision impairment. And there's no way to discern what you're seeing or what you can see or what you can get.
You need someone to read it for you.
Yeah. Which is a frightening thing when you're taking into account. It's like, I don't want to put my family at risk if I have contracted COVID. It's like, you know, that is a scary thing. And to put upon people. And granted, this was something that was like, we were trying to get this as quickly as accessible out to people as quickly as possible for this kind of thing. But you do have to have people putting themselves at risk, and they were doing it in hospitals every day. But to put that upon family members because of something as simple as having Braille on there and having people understand like how to tell that it's a very interesting way to have to try and deal with that kind of thing, and seeing what they're doing with having people join up in the campaign to offer information, to then enable developers to start putting in these kind of accessibility tools at the start of game development, not necessarily retrofitting them all the time, is such a strong, passionate thing for me. I love this aspect of gaming the most. When we talk about like what Sea of Thieves has done and stuff. So it was really great to get to see you really take on that challenge head on and really embrace it. And I know that watching the stream, it was exceptionally hard for you, just kind of realizing like how you process information and how having too many voices, it can be something that shuts down. And I think everyone has their limit. Like there's only so much noise that a person can comprehend before it becomes so overwhelming that you lose the ability to really kind of function, to be able to know like, what am I even doing right now, and just kind of shut down.
That's another thing, but that altogether. But yeah, like, I always feel rude. I get really bad sensory overload, really bad. And like whenever I do events for Sea of Thieves, I always feel bad, but I have to, you know, at the end, everyone gathers, and then like, you know, you'll have a full server of, you know, 6 galleons, 4 people, and they all gather and they're all like having a laugh. I have to alter 4. I have to leave because I will literally, it's weird. I can't speak. My brain will not process. I can't talk over them. And it's something I do in like crowded areas, whereas I'm kind of the opposite in that situation where if I'm I have to be the loudest voice and I will talk over everyone. But otherwise I kind of like, I just can't cope with it. And it's one of the reasons why I don't ever galleon on Sea of Thieves unless I'm with people. It has to be like very specific people, because if everyone's all talking at once, I can't talk to chat. I can't be entertaining. It's weird. It's like someone hits a pause button on my brain. So I have a feature on my stream. I don't know if you know this. It's called sidechain ducking. So when I speak, it turns everybody else down in Discord. So it's an old feature. I mean, it's built into OBS. Just not a lot of self plug. I put a YouTube out a video about it years ago. But it's just I would not be able to stream without it.
Interesting.
So when I'm on crew with, say, if I'm on crew with, I'll use Lady Harada as an example because she's loud and she talks a lot. But if I need to respond to something in chat and she's just jabbering away, like I'll never turn around to a lady and say, you know, shut up. I know that when I talk a lot, and I know that when I'm streaming with other people, you know, they just talk over me to their chat. That's absolutely fine. That's part of being a live content creator. Yeah. But I have it so when I speak into my microphone, OBS picks that up and turns her down automatically. So otherwise, I would sit there in dead silence and wait for her to finish because I just literally wouldn't be able to comprehend what I'm trying to say. It's weird.
It's interesting, and I attribute that behind every great streamer, there's groups of people, and I usually put them into little buckets to help me organize it mentally. But there's always people who are fantastic mods, and they're great at managing chat. They're great at keeping things in order. They're great on keeping you on task if you need stuff. And then there are great streaming partners who are the ones that you have like a good go-between like, you're the type of person who is a personality and you're loud and you're boisterous and you're keeping people entertained. And then there are the people that are silently running around doing all of the stuff that keeps things in order on the ship when it comes to Sea of Thieves in particular. And a shout out to my good friends, Big Bad Pad and Mina Fairy. They are the ones that were with, or I guess it was you, or they were with you, I believe, during that stream. And they are the ones that typically are helping try and get things done around the ship for streamers. And shout out to them because they're the ones that are okay not being in the spotlight, and just trying to enable a good voyage. And it's nice to have those people.
Or just be a loner like me and sail by yourself. No, I do not. I do. Yeah. When I'm on a brig, or a brig or a galleon, there's always a couple of folks that they don't stream and they're just there for the adventure. But yeah, if I'm on a sloop, it's always with another creator or just by myself. To be honest,
I don't ever hit go live, but I love having an hour to like an hour and a half solo sail once in a while. I don't know what it is about it. It's calming, it's relaxing. I don't feel beholden to anyone's expectations on what we're doing, or there's no goal or anything, but I love those like 1.5 hour streams, or not streams, but like sessions.
Well, I always lie to the people that I'm sailing with. I always tell them like a start time, which is at least an hour after I'm actually planning to start, because I just need to have my own time where I can just be silly, have a bit of a laugh with chat and things. Because I feel like sometimes when you've got someone else on crew, they take too much of your attention. And and like I say, my focus is always to be like hyper engaged with chat and to have a laugh. But then that's why I love, 3 examples of people that just get it and are incredible to stream with is like Happy Crack and Beardageddon and Micromads. That's why me and Micromads always do drops together. I always laugh because she'll just message me saying, we're doing drops. I'm like, Friday, Sunday. She's like, yep, easy. And I always say, what do I always say? My God, my brain's gone blank. But it's always like, you understand the assignment. And that's it. Because it's like me and Mad, we understand the assignment. It's drops. We know it's going to be busy and we can both be on a ship together, both help each other out, but at the same time, not have to rely on each other for content.
That's important. Having that same wavelength with other people it's so important when you're getting time. I just looked at Audition and it's saying an hour and 45 minutes. I've stolen so much of your time, so we're gonna kill it here. I want to thank you for all the time that you've given me today. It's been an amazing conversation. I've had so much fun talking with you.
I just apologize. I go on tangents so much, and I know that I do. And someone need to rein me in and be like, "Dude, shut up!" Like, go back to the original point.
This is trust me. Like, if it's one thing that my listeners understand is I'm okay. Well, I don't know if I'm okay with it. I've allowed friends come on and we sit there and talk for 4 hours and I have to cut it into 2 episodes because there's no way I can justify releasing a 4-hour podcast when I'm normally at like an hour. But I'm terrible when it comes to tangents. So this is probably a really good thing for those of you who are listening and need that entertainment for that amount of time. And I'm so sorry for those of you that are like, I have 8 other podcasts I need to get to. Logan, you need to stop.
I've been sat on this toilet for 1 hour and 40 minutes. My legs have gone dead. Please let me stand from this prison.
Beardley, you've been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining. Please, I know everyone probably already knows where to go and get you, but it would be my honor if you could let folks know where they can find your content, what they can do to support you, and some of the stuff that you've got coming up in the next week or 2 that you want to showcase.
Man, just type Behaving Beardly into whatever platform you want. Job's done.
That's good. See, that's branding right there, folks. That's how you know. So I'm going to have links to all your socials in the show notes in case people are too lazy to go to Google, or they don't trust the government, whatever reason. They're living under a rock and they've got 1 click left on their phone before it dies. So they can go and click follow after that. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate the time that you gave me, and we'll leave it on that.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much for asking me to join, honestly.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Please, anytime you want to come on to ramble, if there's another game coming out that you want to talk about, it's not Sea of Thieves, more than welcome.
You don't want to invite me to ramble, my friend.
Are you kidding? Oh, trust me. No, I love having these conversations. This is my way to keep in contact with other creators, because like everything that I do is literally this thing right in front of my face. This is all I've got. I'm not good when it comes to doing streaming because I'm not entertainment. I'm usually just playing the game.
Which is really odd, because for people that can't see this video, he's holding up a picture of Joan Nee. I don't understand. Like,
it's custom. I got it commissioned. There was a lot of surveillance that had to go in to get that side of his backside, but it's velvet, and I will keep it. I cherish it. It's just off camera. It will stay there. My wife doesn't know about it. She thinks it's connected to Ready Player One. It's not. It's 100% Joni.
See, this is I'm gonna say I've got it's behind me, but again you can't see me. I've got a plushie of Beardageddon. It's like a.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, he's got one of me. But what's weird is it was a wonderful lady called. It was a wonderful lady called Sassy Sapphire TV that bought us both this. But the material is strangely wipeable. I'm sorry, I don't really understand. It's a little bit strange, but on that bombshell, thank you. and this is what you sub to the Keelhauled podcast for.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.